Hey, welcome back. This is Gertrude Mache here in Wellington, New Zealand. Today I am interviewing yet another fascinating author based in Seattle by the name of Rob Cantrall. Rob, how are you and welcome?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Rob, you have written an interesting book called The Fall of My Life. Now, I've read the book and I am absolutely intrigued to know what inspired you to write this book in the first place.
Oh, that's a really good question because before I wrote this book, I had a 35-year corporate finance career. So writing a book was literally using the other side of my brain, and it was not an aspiration that I grew up with, not something I ever wanted to do. But as I was going through the experience that the book is about, one by one, I had friends stepping forward saying, you know, you have a story that you really should share with other people for their benefits.
Wow. So, do you want to give us a brief synopsis of what the story is about?
Um, the Fall of My Life, I've subtotaled Transforming Tragedy to Triumph. And the plot begins with the Great Recession of 2008, where I lost all my material and financial possessions. And then I continue to discuss the transformational stage that I went through as a result of that event, learning basically in a nutshell who my authentic self was, what was important to me in life, and I like to say learning how to behave as an adult in an adult world. And so the last part of that is the triumph, and that's the life that I've gotten out of going through that transformational stage as a result of that event that happened back in 2008.
Rob, why do you think it's important for people to share their stories? You went through a very, very traumatic experience, which I believe a lot of people around the world are still trying to recover from. Why is it
Yes.
important for us to share our stories, do you think?
Well, the first thing is I do not consider my story to be extraordinary. I consider my story to be very ordinary. And like just in the United States alone, there were 10 million people that lost their homes in those years ensuing 2008. That's a big number. And so there's a lot of people, even around the 2008 recession, who have their own stories, let alone all the stories about cancer and death and depression, and the list goes on and on and on of personal stories that people have gone through that if we were more willing to share with each other, we could glean strength from each other for having shared those experiences.
So you really wanted to inspire other people who might have gone through the same process or going through that now. And by sharing your story, you're basically saying, it all depends on how you respond and react to what life is throwing at you, correct?
You're absolutely right. The whole point I would say of the book is that we all have those experiences, and those who of us who are not willing to walk through the fear of that transformational period get stuck in those experiences. And those who are willing to walk through that fear and go through that transformation, we come out much better people as a result of those experiences.
Fantastic. Now, you mentioned in the beginning that yours is not an extraordinary story. So we're really talking about ordinary people going through day-to-day events and how you can transmute those events and actually come out on the other side, one, a much better person spiritually, two, with a better understanding of life. But what I seem to have got from your book is that you learned a lot of lessons along the way. Am I correct?
I certainly did a lot of lessons about myself, my career, my relationships with other people, my relationship with God, my relationship just with the universe in general, definitely.
And it's all about how you respond, react to every situation that comes at you in life. I guess life's got a lot of ups and downs, and it's almost like surfing. You have to learn to go with those waves when they go up and come back down. Am I correct?
You can't surf into the waves. You're absolutely right.
Now, Rob, okay, so let's go back to you as an author. You mentioned in the beginning that this is something in your career you would never have thought of doing.
Never.
For that person out there who is sitting on the fence thinking, I'm not an author, I'm not a writer, I can't do this, what 3 things would you say to another aspiring writer in terms of them stepping out into this world of writing?
Yeah, I hate to steal Nike's phrase, but just do it. When I finally had enough people harping on me to do it, I was working a job. I was working at least 80 hours a week. I was a busy man. And I just took a week off vacation, and I went to a cottage on the beach, and I sat down in a week and wrote a book.
Wow. So you were that determined to get this thing out of your head, and you did it.
Yeah, it needed to come out of my head, and it was as fast as I could type to get it out of my head.
So what kept you focused on your goal? So number 1, just do it. Number 2, you had laser focus in terms of getting this book done in a week. What kept you motivated?
Well, really for me, because it's my personal story as opposed to some subject that I was researching, it was just a brain dump. That was all in my head, and it needed to come out. And I was, isolated out where there was no TV or internet. I was using a battery-operated laptop, and it was literally typing as fast as the thoughts were coming. And I just went around the clock.
Wow. Wow, so really the first draft of your book should be a brain dump, because a lot of people try and self-edit while they're writing, correct?
Right. You're absolutely right. I think that was the other thing I kind of learned along the way is to, because I didn't have aspirations to be a writer, I'm horrible at spelling. I don't know grammar. I don't know sentence structure. I just typed. And I didn't stop and correct any of that. That's what the editor's for. That's why you hire an editor.
So your job is just to get the story out of your head and put it down on paper, and the rest will follow.
That's right.
So I would say that the third tip that I think you can offer any aspiring writer is to physically get yourself away from what you do as your day job or your daily life routine. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Do you think that
That's
helped
right.
a lot?
Yeah, and I've heard other writers' stories where, most people it takes longer to write than a week. I acknowledge that. But if they have a daytime job, then they make sure they block out 2 or 3 hours every day where they can just block everything else and focus on what they're writing.
Fantastic. So Rob, where is the book available? Where can people actually purchase your book?
It's at Amazon.
It's on Amazon. And do you
Yes.
have a website as well?
Pardon?
Do you have a website?
I do. Thank you. It's cantrallbooks.com.
Fantastic. Well, I'm hoping that this interview will go out to quite a few people out there in the world who are going through personal struggles, are trying to navigate their way through it, because you seem to have done it with grace, and you took along the way all of these amazing lessons that have made you the man that you are today. So I really thank you for sharing this time and for sharing your story with us.
Thank you. I hope it gets out to a lot of people too, because I believe that the experience I went through can help a lot of people.
So do you think we'll be getting more books out of you in the near future?
Definitely. Oddly enough, I already have 2 titles and outlines for 2 new books.
So out of all of this, you changed your career. You're now a full-time writer by the sound of it.
Writer and speaker,
Fantastic.
yes.
And you can get speaking opportunities, and you're out there inspiring other people to just live their life to the full.
That's right.
Rob, thank you so much. And everybody, this was another fascinating interview with Rob Cantrall. Please go onto his website. His book is available on Amazon and on Kindle. Absolutely fascinating and inspiring book. And I know that for a lot of my listeners out there, you might be going through a similar challenge, a similar problem. The biggest thing I learned from Rob's book is you can change your adversity into a challenge and an opportunity. Thanks again, Rob, and take care. I'd love to keep in touch.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.
Bye-bye.